The shaky ceasefire in the Middle East is under growing pressure, with US President Donald Trump ordering a massive operation involving ships, aircraft and thousands of troops. Global Affairs editor Laura Tingle joins us now from Jerusalem. Laura, g'day. So the US President is dubbing this Operation Freedom, claiming it's a humanitarian mission to rescue those ships stuck in the Strait of Hormuz. Is it clear how this is actually going to work, and what impact could this have on the passage?
Essentially, the various maritime authorities are saying ships that want to try to go through the Strait of Hormuz as part of this humanitarian effort should stick to the Omani side of the strait, and that there will be an enhanced security operation underway from the American forces there. I imagine this will primarily be about air cover against the sort of Iranian speedboats and smaller craft that have been used against shipping, because there's no talk, despite the initial sort of suggestion that they'd actually be escorting ships, that it'll actually be US Navy vessels with the ships coming through the strait. As you mentioned, this is being portrayed as a humanitarian effort aimed at all those ships, and particularly about 20,000 seafarers who've been stranded in the strait. Some of those have been removed already, or are sort of found sort of assistance from their ship owners to get extra supplies. I think it remains a really moot question whether insurers will let a lot of these vessels actually proceed through the strait under such dubious circumstances, particularly given the Iranians have responded by saying that they would regard any US interference in the way the strait is working as a ceasefire violation.
Yeah, and it's 11 a.m. now in around that Oman area. So, and it's day one of this apparent operation. Have you heard of any indications yet that any ships are actually approaching and trying to get through, or there've been none at this stage?
We haven't yet, Joe, and I think the fact that a ship had tried to move into the Gulf a few hours before this announcement and was shot at by the Iranians and turned back will probably give a lot of shipping that's stuck inside the Strait of Hormuz reason for pause, shall we say. The other thing about all of this is that I think that this is talking about ships that are belonging to countries that are uninvolved in this crisis. Now, that's a very complex question about how you actually determine that, given the complexities of flagging arrangements and ownership arrangements.
Yeah. And all this is happening with the US still yet to respond to Iran's latest peace proposal. Just take us through the elements of that proposal, and does it seem like this kind of dance between the US and Iran is kind of going around in circles without really getting anywhere?
I think that's a pretty good description of it, Joe. Essentially, we still don't know exactly what's in the peace proposal that was put forward to the Pakistanis by Iran last Thursday. The 14 points, they don't seem to have moved a lot. Some academics are seeing a slight softening in some various aspects of what the Iranians were proposing, but certainly what we do know is that nuclear power and nuclear capacity is not on the table as far as the Iranians are concerned. There's very little softening of its position on the Strait of Hormuz, which it basically says must remain in its control. So it just comes down to a few changes where they're demanding that this has all got to be sorted out in the next 30 days, whereas the Americans were talking about 2 months. Now, President Trump has said several different things about this proposal over the weekend, that he wouldn't consider it, he might consider it if they didn't behave, he wasn't inclined to consider it, but apparently the Americans have put back some form of response to the proposal, and we've got to wait and see what the Iranians have to say about that.
Okay, Laura Tingle reporting there from Jerusalem.